We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com, and a very happy new year to you. My name is Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Theresa Contaxis. Did I say it right, love?
Close enough. It's Contaxis.
Contact us. There we go.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the journey of your soul for all ages. She says, as a child, she struggled to navigate her way through life. She was bullied and felt insecure when measuring herself against others. In adulthood, she battled with feelings of anger and jealousy and fear. Married with her child on the way, she had to confront depression. She went on a spiritual journey, embracing spiritual lessons from many belief systems, and eventually became a reverend. In the process of finding herself, she was inspired to write a book for all ages, The Littlest Sailboat. We're going to be talking about that sailboat today, what the metaphors and what it means, how we actually let go, how do we invite things in, how we let go of things like anger, fear, shame, jealousy, and really just quite honestly, how we open up our heart and soul to the beautiful beingness that it is, where all the clarity lies and all the meaning of life. So welcome to the show, love.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you.
So, soul awakening is something that is fundamentally the basis of everything I represent here. And so many people awaken to the soul in so many different ways. And, things happens to us that we feel are bringing us down, or why is it happening? Why is this so hard? Or why am I struggling? And all of those struggles are just a journey to opening up and connecting with our soul, isn't it?
It certainly is. Without those struggles that I've had, I don't think I'd be where I am
Mhm.
today. When things are going right and everything feels good, you don't search for
Right.
why is this way?
Yeah.
It's when things are tough that you start going, there's got to be more. And what is it?
Yes. What is it? And very often, if we try and think about it, if we use just our intellect, we're missing the entire message, because that soul is there's that divine message coming through you that resonates with the heart and truth, that lifts the spirit into action for the mind to know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. The heart, soul, and spirit have an intellect. And if we don't listen to it, all we're doing is just running around constantly on a little treadmill.
That's true. And for me, it's before I found the beginning of well, not the beginning of the journey, because the day you're born, you're on it already.
Yes.
But so the beginning of where I was awakening, I'll put
Hmm.
it that way. I lived so much from my ego, who I call Screaming Mimi. And Screaming
Like
Mimi loves to scream. She's like a little 2-year-old. And she just loved to have fun. And when I was trying to figure and search it out, it was Mimi who was doing all the talking.
yes.
Well, if you get
Yes.
that new car, I'll tell you, you're going to be happy. I
Yeah.
promise you. And you get it, and it's wonderful. And then a month later, you're going, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for the next bill?
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't work.
No. It's a price to everything, isn't there? But we're conditioned though, aren't we? We're conditioned that the outside world is what's going to make our inside world happy. That car, that house, that outfit, that man, or that woman in your life, that the more is more. And when we go
Yes,
on the soul journey, we realize it's the less is the more. And it's really, quite honestly, the simplicity of life that really is the abundance of life.
that's very true. And that's what the little sailboat goes through. Just thinking that it's so little, because it's so little and everything else is so much better. And even trying to become better. In the book, the little sailboat wants to be like the cruise liner. because in the sailboat's eyes, that was the one to be. And it's the journey of realizing the only thing you need to be is the littlest sailboat, or whatever, who you are.
Who
And
wants
I
the
think,
responsibility of a cruise ship?
well, that's what I actually bring that up. The little sailboat realizes that the cruise ship had to work so hard at looking
Yes.
good all the time.
Yeah. And the sailboat, it goes slower and you pay more attention to what is around you, and you truly then get to see what it is you're meant to see.
That's beautiful. I didn't even think of that.
But we don't slow down in life, do we? We do get caught up and, oh, I've got to be the big cruise ship. I've got to look inviting. Everybody's going to want to come and be on my ship. And then you don't realize, how much housekeeping, the food, the engine, the gas, the stuff, the everything else. And it's like, why is it so much work when, I could just go out on a sailboat with me and myself and just bob up and down on the waters, feel the breeze running through my hair and pushing the sail forward, just seeing the shoreline, maybe some seals or some whales or some dolphins, or, just seeing life around you. And if it was so conditioned to chase that we don't realize it's all here.
There's actually nothing to chase. That's one of
Right.
the things to learn, that we're chasing after something, but you already have it. You
Yes.
just don't know it because you're letting Mimi do all the talking.
The reason why I'm laughing at that, we have a cat called Mimi, M-I-M-I. And actually looking at her, she is a bit of a Mimi. Why do we feel so needed to be me? Is what is it about, me? Why are we trying to stand out? Are we trying to be more important than others? Are we trying to be seen?
I think for everybody, it's a little different.
Mm,
Somebody might want to be the most beautiful. And whatever Mimi tries to create, it doesn't last. And let's
no,
face it, if you're the most beautiful person in the world, that is definitely not going to last as you get older.
not without plastic
Um,
surgery.
and let's say Mimi wants a lot of money and Mimi gets what she wants, but because it's from the outside in
Mm,
completely, then you're afraid you're going to lose it. So then you
yes.
live in fear that it's going to go away. And the same thing is true with pretty much anything that Mimi says. If we have this, we've
Mm,
arrived.
right.
Can you
And we
imagine? You
haven't.
Mimi wants to be a star, and then they have a bad review,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, oh, this is awful. My life has ended. I have a bad review.
Yes, and when you're on the sailboat, really somebody else's opinion or review doesn't really matter. It's how do you feel about yourself?
That is
Right.
what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And finding out what that is,
Mm-hmm.
who you really truly are,
Yes.
which
And
is love in form.
oh, I mean, let's look at the word love, and I say it all the time. Love is a higher frequency, a higher vibration. When we actually step into that love vibration, love of self, love of life, love of living, we're on that vibration where we cannot knowingly do any harm to anyone else, for to harm them is to harm ourselves.
That's true. And that's beautifully put.
Love is, I mean, it's corny. And how many songs and movies and books and everything have been out there in love, and how many times do we use the word love? But how many times do we actually feel it?
Well, I think we misunderstand what love
Mm.
is because we put conditions on it.
Yes.
I will love you if you do
Mm,
this.
mhm.
Um, well, somebody once said to me, I love you because you love this person. And I'm like, so what you're saying, if I don't love that person,
Mm.
you're not going to love me.
Right.
that, that's not love. And
No.
to really capture that love, what love really truly is, if you don't do your inner work, you're never
Mm.
going to find it.
Nope. Life is an inside out job. I don't care how much you think you've got on the outside, how rich, how famous, how powerful you are, the biggest dictator in the world. If you
Yeah,
ain't got the inside love, you got nothing.
nothing. And I when I first started awakening, I could remember going, I really want that new car or that new dress or whatever. And then I would have to say to myself, but Mimi, you're not going to be happy once you get it. It's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. What is it substituting? Why do you need it? Why is the exterior need so much more important than the interior need that you're not listening to?
Because you don't like yourself, I think.
Hmm.
I think you're trying to like yourself in, from the outside in. So you're
Mm.
trying to create something that you will like
Yes.
instead of realizing you are so loved. And if you would
Yeah.
just start going in, you'll find how loved you are. You're loved, you're loving, and you're
Yeah.
so lovable.
We keep chasing love without realizing we are the love.
Yes. And that we even trying to find love, we look outside. And
Always.
so you find this perfect in the boat, in my book, in the Littlest Sailboat, I talk a little bit about when I met my husband, who I've been married longer than I've been alive. No, that can't be longer than
That's the
that would
epitome of a
that's
cradle
big
snatcher.
wrong. That would came out wrong. But and in at 20 or 18, I actually met him when I was 18, checked off all these boxes. He made me feel so special and so good. And then we had 3 kids in 3 years, and oh boy, you don't feel so
Mm.
special anymore.
No, God,
And
barely
and
surviving.
and that's when you gotta go. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Because I always felt, as much as I was sad, I was lonely, I had depression, I always felt life was more.
Yes. Yes. And I totally relate to you with that, that depression. Here you are holding a life in your hand. And instead of seeing the beautiful gift that you have, the absolute joy that it brings, all you're seeing is the responsibility and how tired you are, and can I do this? And it gets you down because again we're trying to raise our children by somebody else's dictation and expectation instead of just being present with the child and being at one with that child and really bonding. So it can put so much pressure on being a mother, of this, your child, oh, what do you mean it's not sleeping through the night? No, my child can do this. And Dr. Seuss says your child should be doing this by now, and you look at your child and you go, well, why aren't you doing it? And we put that again, that pressure on ourselves instead of just looking at this beautiful gift that we have in front of us
Yeah,
and going.
and I saw, in my case, I loved my job.
Mm,
And because my father was very successful and I really looked up to him. And I, somehow thought that was it.
yeah, yeah,
And so I chose
be
to stay at
revered.
home with kids.
Mm,
And so I quit my job.
right,
And because I related so heavily that I am my job,
right.
I painted a canvas and it was so small.
Mm,
And all
mm,
of a sudden I have a baby, I'm home. And so who am I?
right. Yes. Why do we put a lesser importance on being at home and being a mother when it's one of the most responsible jobs ever in existence?
My husband used to say that to me when I would say, I'm not bringing any money into the home. He said, you're bringing love into the home.
Exactly.
I'm bringing the money into the home, but you're bringing the love in the home.
The currency. That's what is the currency of love, It
And
is.
and
Yeah,
that's what he said. Your job is hard. He goes, I'll go to work any day. I'll work 12 hours a day as long as I don't have to do your job.
exactly. I remember now my ex-husband, but at one point, what do you do all day? And I decided to write, you should go out and work. And I thought, okay, I go out and work. This is what I do all day. This is what it would cost to replace me. And then I
You're
handed
right.
handed it over to him. Oh no, I think you should stay at home.
Actually, my son and daughter-in-law, when they had their first one, she was thinking of going to work, and she wasn't pregnant yet, but she was thinking of working. And they did the same thing. They put the pen to the paper, and it was like, why would we do that? You
Yeah.
so badly want to be a mother.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more important than
Mm,
that role, whether you're the mother or the father.
Yes.
The caregiver who is going to be there, loving them when they're throwing up and when they're throwing a temper tantrum and when screaming me arrives, because it arrives in everybody.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to be using that. I have a grandson who's 21 months old, and it's something about holding a grandchild is different to holding your own children. With your own children, immediately you're responsible for their lives. And my daughter said to me after she had him, "How did you do it with three kids, Mum?" And I said, "I don't know. I just did it. You didn't have time to think. You just, you know."
You're right.
The next diatribe, the next meal, the next this, the next that. You're just in constant groove. So you didn't have time to take it in or think or anything. You just did. With a grandson, I can be more deliberate. I can be more attentive, right?
And you can go, okay, I'm tired. I'm done. I'm going home now.
Bye. Yeah. And she lives about an hour and 40 from me. And so she was doing a practicum. And so I would go every week for 2 days to look after him while she was doing a practicum. And then they offered her a job. And so I said, okay, I can't do it, because it's interfering with my work. I'll come every other week. And so that's how it's been. But now we have she's pregnant again, which is wonderful. But we have just found out that it's a Down syndrome baby. And she wrote the most beautiful piece when she announced it to people on social media. And one of the pieces she said, right now I've been going through the labelization, what is in store for me, I've cried all the tears. But she said, when I'm sitting with him one day doing some, inanal play thing, I'm not going to look at him as a Down syndrome child. I'm going to look at him as my loving son. And it was such a reminder that it doesn't matter what is given to us. If we can look at the love of it, if we can treat things from the love side of it, we'll understand we're never given anything we can't cope with, and that love will see us through.
That's what I was going to say, is that you could be certain, and sometimes I'll say to myself, I could be certain I haven't been given anything
Right.
that I'm not equipped to handle at this time.
Right. And it's just a question of kind of getting in the sailboat instead of, the responsibility of the cruise ship to actually understand I need to be present with myself to know how I can deal with this.
What I did when they were really little, and I still love to do it, is I'm a very early riser. I think my husband was out of the house very early in the
I wish
morning.
you were at our house. He wakes up at 5 in the morning.
Oh, so I do. I wake up usually about 4:30 naturally, and when I do, I like going in my room and sitting in quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you now, it definitely, if I don't do that, and I don't do it every day, I walk away sometimes, I walk back, because I realize, wow, this isn't working this way. I have to go
Right.
back. And when I do the days in the quiet, life is easier.
Yes.
I mean, even, and I'm not saying no, nothing happens. I'm just saying
Yeah.
you're totally equipped to handle it.
Yes.
It's just a tool. I mean,
Yeah.
the goal is that tool, you don't have to go into that quiet
Right.
because you're living it. You're
Yes.
living it, you're breathing it at all times. We're in the Bible where it says, I'll remember reading this for years. Paul says, pray unceasingly. I'm like, how can you do that? Who can do
Yeah.
that? And I think the answer is you become it. You
Thank you.
become a living prayer.
It's not about loving or trying to be. It is the beingness. It is the being that love vibration, that soul, heart, spirit connection is the goodwill, is the joy, is the love, is the vibration that you put out there. You are that love. You are that
Yes,
being. You're not being it in the sense that you're trying to be it. You are it,
you
right?
just
Yeah.
are.
And that
And
is the
that's what I
constant
think
prayer.
he
Yeah.
actually meant.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. And it kind of look at your going into your just room and being quiet is really kind of those beautiful moments in the sailboat, of the solitude, of just being able to, like, oh, hello day. Thank you. I woke up. What do you have for me today? And just being present and letting whatever the day is to come to prepare you for it, because they will. All right. And you have no idea what your day is going to be, but you can meet it with grace. You don't have to meet it with panic.
And in the book, The Littlest Sailboat, the ocean represents God.
Hmm.
I wanted to keep it non. I wanted people to be able to read it and not have a hiccup because the word Jesus was mentioned or the
Right,
word Allah was mentioned. So the ocean is divine. That's
right.
what it is.
Hmm.
And in the book, the wind blows the boat and it tips over into the ocean.
Hmm.
And when it comes up and wakes up, there's a little ocean in the little sailboat.
Hmm.
And that was the beginning of recognizing what the ocean was. And
Right.
that the ocean was part of me,
Yes.
or I was part of the ocean, better said, I think.
Right. The thing is, every single thing on this planet has an energy signature. Absolutely everything. The universe is an energy signature. The earth has an energy signature. And it is about being tuned in to that energy, tuned into that frequency, and being a part of. But we don't want you to stand out that you stand away from something. We want you to stand up in your beingness, that people can feel your beautiful energy. And the resonance and the essence of what that energy is driven from that divine source. And you
Yes.
are in truth, you are in clarity, you are in heart.
When you live from your heart, your true center, when you live there, when you're willing to make yourself vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
when you accept completely, you have a choice, even with how you view life. Are you going to view life as, I, not all people are good, or there are bad people, which I don't believe there are. There are people who are acting out of their pain, doing
Right.
things that are out of love,
Yeah.
but it's not
Yeah.
that they're bad, because how can source create anything bad? He
Yeah.
can only create in his own image, which is love.
Right. There are some people who turn away from that image and there are bad
Yes.
actions, but there are some people that favor the bad actions. And those are the people that have disconnected from God. They are
Yeah,
purely what I call the humanoids. And we've got to understand we're spiritual beings having a human existence. And if you're
exactly.
just living in the humanoid, you haven't connected the heart, the soul, the consciousness. And therefore, you will continue to do bad things because you're not governed and you're not guided by that divine love.
But the divine love is always constantly to wake them up,
It is if they
because
wish
it
to be
is there,
woken,
but they
though.
don't want to listen.
No.
But
Yeah,
you
I
know
mean, that's
why?
the free will, right? As a human
Right.
being to
But
be woken or not.
this is the divine whispering ever so gently in your ear, and screaming Mimi's going, no, no, go away.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like a dog. I call it we get the whispers, the nudge, nudge, and the wink, wink, and we're not paying attention. Blah, the cosmic 2x4, right? And
Yeah, yeah, this is them going, no, 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 no,
yeah,
no.
exactly. And unfortunately, there are some souls out there that just simply won't open up because the soul can't speak through a closed heart. You have to open up your heart. I don't care if it's been hurt or trampled on. Your heart will heal. You have to open it up enough to that love for the healing to start, for the soul's wisdom to come through, for the spirit to know what to do. But if a closed heart there, you become so jaded and you're so disconnected from source that you're going to continue to make wrong decisions. And those
Well,
decisions are out of pain and anguish.
and you don't know what age that heart closes.
No.
Like, you can have a set of twins,
Yes.
and they're playing on the floor ever so happy, and mom watches them and goes, oh, they're happy, I'm just going to go outside, get the mail, and come in.
Mm-hmm.
They both notice mom walked out.
Mm-hmm.
One just goes, huh, okay, and the other one takes it as total abandonment. And it's
Right.
a little child, and
Yeah.
it doesn't understand. But at that moment something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mom abandoned me.
Yes. Yes.
One grows and thrives, and the other one cannot.
And can never actually pinpoint what the problem is. And even if
Right.
that's the problem, we carry on. I mean, sometimes it's the DNA of our actual ancestry. Sometimes it's past life. It's it's there's so many factors into why you feel so insecure. Are you feeling so insecure so young? And that isn't generally their lifetime in this moment. It's a residual feeling from a past lifetime, or just the insecurity that runs through the lineage of the
Yes.
DNA, right? So, at some point when you have to say, okay, do I want to feel like this? Is this really me? I mean, why? There's no reasoning for it. And my daughter, the one who's pregnant now, when she was little, defiant, bossy little thing by day, by night could not sleep on her room. I'd find her either on the floor next to me or in bed with me. It just was terrified of the night. And so I took her to a past life regressionist where we found out that she'd been abandoned 3 times in the dark in past lifetimes,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And so
Yeah.
by releasing that, she was very, very young, but she understood. And I said to her, I said, but that's not you. That was them. You send them love and understand that you're not abandoned. You never will be abandoned in this lifetime. The light is always with you. And she went on to sleeping in her room with the light on. And it didn't take very long before that light went off and she was secure sleeping on her own because she understood it wasn't her in this lifetime. It was something she could let go of, even at that young age. I think she was 4 or 5.
But you know what gift you gave her in the sense, you know how many people wouldn't be open to even
Mm-hmm.
that thought of going,
Yeah,
well, okay, I don't even know what I believe in this, but I got to give it a try. Something, I
exactly.
got to give it a try.
Yeah, we don't know. What is the biggest thing we're afraid of? What we don't know, right?
You know?
And if we just step more into exploration and wonderment, I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Instead of I don't know, I don't want to know. We've become this panic, and we don't need to be this panic. And that is something I think that has been imposed upon us to keep us in control by certain groups of people on the planet. It's not
That
this.
definitely happens, but we do also do it to
Oh, we
ourselves in the
do.
sense
Yeah.
somebody said to me, but I need to have control. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, do you ever have control? You're going to get in the car. Are you sure you're going to get to point B? Are you absolutely certain you get to point B?
Right.
Your kid is a beautiful child and something happens and they go down a bad path. Did
Yes.
you have any control over that? No. And I sometimes thinks of Franklin, not Graham.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. When he went off in a bad direction and he came back. So
Yes.
even then, you're going to try to control the child, the adult, to keep them here, and you're going to be like this. Well, what if that path is exactly what they needed to
Yes.
see they were missing something?
Exactly. Um, I had a son that took that path, and I said to him, I love you, but I don't like you. I don't like who you are or what you represent right now. My love will always be with you. It will always be here, but I can't be around you right now. And for a couple of years, he took a path that I just kept sending white light and love to him. And at one point, he was at a crossroads, and he looked at that and he said, that would probably end up in death. And he said, and his heart panged. And he said, I can't do that to my mother. And he took a different
Wow.
path. And now he's this incredible leader. So many people look up to him. He's somebody that's so totally taken the soul journey. But because he took that other path, he knows where he went wrong, the wrong decisions and what the right decisions are. But they also gave him a sense of compassion and understanding and leadership where people come and confide in him and trust him because of the journey that he's taken. And big relief for me.
Yes.
I mean, gray hairs have got their names on it. Um, and that was a choice that he decided to make, right? I know if I go down that road, the price would be too high. I've been given all this love. Do I want to portray that love? Or maybe it's time I started looking at the love of self and go down a different road.
Well, I think part of that is the beauty is the way you said it at the very beginning. I don't like you right now, but I love you so much, and I
Yes.
just can't be around. It's what tough love really is supposed to be.
Yeah,
Tough love is not supposed to be get out of my house.
right.
It's loving, and it's
Yes.
saying, but I can't do this. I
Yes.
love you too much to do
Yes.
this.
Yes, it hurts too much, and I have no control, and it doesn't matter what I say right now. You've chosen this path, but I just
Yeah.
can't witness it, right?
Yes.
When you look at my other daughter who's vegan, her child is 100% and they are completely hands-on parents. They've been reading to him from the day he was born, and here she is having a Down syndrome child. That was no choice of hers. There was no blame of hers. There's no history of it. There's none of that. But I do believe that she was chosen because she's such a caring, loving, attentive person that this child is coming to teach us something, how to be present in that sailboat, how to see the beauty in everything, how to communicate in a different way. And this child has chosen the right parents to do it with.
I was at the grocery store a while, and it was a Down syndrome young adult that packed my bags,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can't tell you how much love this kid had. I was
Yes.
watching this child. There's this inner child that they never
Yes.
let die.
No.
It's there
Beautiful.
forever. And he's
Yes.
like, "Can I help you to your car?"
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Wow, that's love." I
That
mean,
is
his smile, his every moment, he was living the very thing we were talking about earlier.
right. And that, I've interviewed a lot of people who have autism and parents of autism. The parents of autistic children were told just to institutionate their child and go and have another one. And they said no. And, they would literally be scraping off the feces off the wall or, dealing with the temper tantrums, the rough journey. And most of them, the husbands left them. So they were left to do it on their own. Um, their children today, one of them is an author of 2 books, and she's a graphic illustrator. Another one, and went on to do graphic illustrating. Another one that I've introduced is a DJ. Another one is something else. And the thing is, what I think when we look at, but there is the extreme autism where they have other things on top of it, which is different.
Yes.
But when you're looking at that kind of autism or Asperger's type or autism, what I believe is they're incredibly focused on what they believe in, what their abilities are, and what they want to do. And they're incredibly choosy of who they have around them because it's that frequency, that vibration they want around them. And they're just not going to buy into the crap or the BS that's out there. So I think
Yes, they
actually
don't.
there's a great deal to learn from them on how to be discerning, focused, and follow the passion through.
I would agree. They're
There's a lot to
beautiful.
learn from them, isn't there? I mean,
There's, we, and I'm not, I'm saying we very liberally because I know it's not everybody,
right.
but we in general, well, no, we all judge. We know,
Yes.
we do. It's like, oh, did you see that
Yeah.
person? It's like, yeah. And then uh, Holy Spirit teaches me with humor all the time, constantly. And when it happens, it's like, oh, can you see that? And then I see something beautiful happen, and I'm going, mm. Like when
Yeah.
I first started my journey, I was asked to talk at a testimony, and I was trying to write it, and I got on a plane, and my husband wasn't going to be sitting with me, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. And this guy next to me started talking to me. He had a silk shirt on and all these metal chains, and let me tell you, I judged,
Yes.
totally judged. So I thought, and he's talking to me, and I'm going, oh, I know how to get rid of him. I pulled out my Bible. I pulled out some paper, like what I was doing. He goes, oh, how do you like? And he started going through his favorite verses in the Bible.
Uh-huh.
I just started laughing, and I went, whoa. And that I went, okay, I got it. I got
You'd
it.
pulled a Mimi moment. Yes. But we are conditioned to do that, though. We're taught to do that. There's 2 words I absolutely hate when it comes to humanity is comparison and competition. The competition is when we're competing in a sport or an event, right? Comparison is apple or orange. Both of them are fruit, it's just preference. We should never compare ourselves to other people, and we should never compete with other people. We are enough in who we are. We don't need to be them. It takes a
You're
full-time
talking to a
job to
little
be who you
sailboat.
are.
The Little Sailboat talks about that in very simple terms,
Yeah.
because it's true. One of my daughters said to me what competition was for her
Mhm.
was, and she loved riding horses.
Yeah.
And she said, it's about competing against myself.
Exactly.
And she said, and going in a horse show is not competing in her eyes, because I have to keep in mind what the horse can do.
It's a collaboration.
Yes.
right? You know, that's the thing. If you're not at one with that horse, and let's face it, horses, dogs, cats, many animals are far more in tune to the divine than we are. If we're not at one with that beautiful animal and that disconnect, and you're going to think you're in control, suddenly you're going to find yourself on your ass, right?
Yes.
Because we don't pay attention to the divine's message that how many times do our animals speak to us? How many times? I'll give you a quick story of my dog I had once. And I was in South Africa, I lived there, and there was a beautiful drive that they'd cut through to the mountains. So it was literally rock down to the ocean, the small road that you could drive on, very scenic, very beautiful. And I had been given a new drug for depression because I've always had clinical depression. And it made me high, it made me feel I wanted to fly. And I was driving an open
Oh,
sports car. And I obviously I don't know what I was doing or what I was saying, but I was driving along and she barked at me and I barked back. And then she pawed me and I pawed her back. The next moment, just as we're about to hit this huge corner where you can actually stop and look over, but it's
yeah.
also a huge suicide rock where people drive off it. And I had no
Oh,
intention of committing suicide. I just thought I could fly. And so she took her entire body and threw it on top of mine. And I was driving stick and I came off the stick. Everything came out of gear. I was less than a foot from the cliff. So she saved our lives. She knew
she was
something
your
was wrong.
angel.
She was my angel. Absolutely. Otherwise, I would have been going off that cliff wondering what the heck was going on because I didn't plan that. And I think, and I think an awful lot of people do commit suicide in a moment of complete disconnect and despair because I know how despairing and unreasonable and no rationale with depression. You've had it yourself. You know, there's no reasoning with it. You can't negotiate with it. It just is all consuming. And I believe an awful lot of people do take their lives in that moment because they just want to switch the pain off. But on the other side, go, I didn't really mean that. I just
I
wanted to
remember
shut the pain off.
as a teenager when I was going through something and I was in so much pain, and I never wanted to commit suicide, but I would go, can I just go to sleep for 3 days?
Yes,
Not dream, nothing.
yes.
Just let me go to sleep for three
Yes,
days.
yes. To switch the pain off, to switch the
Yes,
pain off, right?
yes.
And it's but when you trust the divine, and I still get clinical depression now and again, but I know when it's coming up and I know what to do. And you know, for me, music is it. And I put the headphones on and I listen to the music. And I realized, you know, through the 10 and a half years of doing this and galactic speak and frequency and all of that, that there's certain music I'm drawn to, and that music resets my equilibrium, resets my frequency, calms me down, centers me so that I can rise above. And we need to know what it is that kind of recenters us, what takes us into that safe space where we feel we are nurtured, we are cared for, and we can, you know, take a different channel. But we've got to be aware of that. And it doesn't matter if people have the clinical depression or not. There's so much anxiety out there today, and people don't know how to cope with it because they're dealing with it on the outside, not the inside.
And you're right. You have to find out what works for you, and it
Yes,
has nothing to do with depression. It could be that you go for a walk in the morning
yeah,
and the birds do it, or
yes,
you need to be up at sunrise, so before sunrise, so you hear everything waking up,
mm,
or you need to be outside at sunset because you need to feel everything going to sleep.
mhm,
I'm like you. I love music.
yeah,
That and when I'm meditating, if I don't have music on, somehow it's not the same.
yeah.
I need it.
It's your companion,
Yes.
right? It's collaborating with you. It's connecting with your inner frequency and putting you, you know, in rhythmic. And we're all rhythm. And when we're
Yeah.
out of rhythm, that's when we're out of sorts. So we, you know, it puts
Yep.
us back in rhythm. Yeah. And
And
you know,
it,
for some people, it might be jogging or, you know, going for a
yes.
run or going for a walk. You know, just listen to the rhythm of life. You know, the
Yeah.
little boat on the waters just lapping over the waves. There's something rhythmic about that, right?
Yeah, we live on a lake, and when we take the pontoon boat out, I usually, and if we go late in the afternoon, I'll be sleeping
Hmm.
because the rhythm just takes
Yes.
everything and makes it go.
Yeah. I love actually going for a swim, more in the lakes because you can do it. The ocean is a little harder, but I like just literally lying on the water and I just let the water float underneath me. It totally relaxes me. My whole body is just, I'm just buoyant on top of that water. And I can feel the water and this beautiful conduit just feeding me, just nurturing me. And it is so beautiful. Nature provides us all the answers. Nature is a divine instrument. And we just need to tap into it. It's God's instrument, it's God's tools, right?
But it's also like you said before, you everything has a frequency and you
Yes.
are related to it.
Yes.
When I studied shamanism and they said I was going to sit with a rock for 5 hours and let me know, and I was to tell them what the rock told me.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold a rock and it's going to talk to me. It did, which blew me away. It was like, really? A rock too has
Yes.
life. It's not
Yes.
life, but it's frequency.
It's all knowledge. One of the biggest problems we have as human beings, as humans, is we go with all this data that's in our head, everything that we've been taught, everything, we take in like, what is it, 700,000 bits of information every day. So it's going on in this little brain of ours and our minds and our programming. And we don't know how to be discerning of what's important right now, not unless we ignite the soul, heart, and spirit's intellect to know what is important from that intellect and how to use it. Otherwise, we're just on a treadmill, constantly going around with not knowing how to use it.
Well, and the other thing is the line that people say knowledge is power. I don't think it's knowledge is power. I think a knowing is where the power is.
And that's what the
A
wisdom
knowing,
is, knowingness, yes.
you just, how do you know that? You just know.
No. You don't
And
need to understand why you know.
No, you don't.
The
You
knowledge is
don't need to
enough.
understand.
Yes. Yeah.
Just a knowing, knowing you're cared for, knowing
Yes.
you're loved, knowing you are provided for. And yes, people go through awful things, awful
Yes.
things. And I couldn't even begin to speak of it or understand it, but I do know this. I know I am loved, and I know, and there'll be times I'll be doing something and I'll just get a knowing.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard thing to explain until you have one the first time.
Right. I've been a spiritual being trying to have a human existence my entire life. And I know I came here to ignite heart and souls a long, long time ago. And as a youngster, I would see energies like, quote, dead people, but I'd see them as energy beings. And I would be dimensional traveler. And it was always so extremely hard for me to fit into humanity because I just never was enough. I can never give them what they wanted. And that there'd one moment be absorbing the knowledge that I brought with me, the wisdom that came through me, wasn't me, came through me, and the next moment dismissing you because they didn't want anyone to know that you had downloaded that knowledge.
I'm just sort of curious, how did your mother handle all this?
My mother was very spiritual as well, but my mother was one that I was very asthmatic, so I was spent many, many weeks, sometimes months at a time in bed. From the age of 2, missed a great deal of schooling because of it. And so we didn't have ventral asthma pumps back then, only had that at 40. So there would be a pill given and she would have to calm me down during an asthma attack so that I wouldn't pass out or, I could breathe. So I remember, breakfast, lunch, and dinner and her coming in to check on me or somebody coming in to check on me. But I do remember a great deal of loneliness. And I think my way of coping that was that my spirit got ignited a great deal more to say, I'm with you.
And then you saw the energies, the dead
Yes.
people, so to speak, and they
Yes.
kept you company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I was obviously the weird one for doing that. And it's that I've always been a seer, and it's not my choice to see what I see. I'm given what I see because that person needs to know. So that's the knowingness. It doesn't come from my intellect. All my intellect does is understand the message so I can relate it to you. And as a child, I'd relate these messages without understanding at all. Can you say that again? No. Do you know what you're saying? No. Why did you say you just need to know?
Okay, so you understood a knowing very early.
Very early, yes. And that growing up as a child that wasn't intellect, 'cause I left school probably a grade 7, maybe an 8, over here, but um, no more than that. And so I wasn't at all academic. And I had to use my energy essence to get every job. Most jobs I wasn't qualified for, but I used my energy to get in there and find out if I could do it. Because it's always been, I don't know if I can do this unless I try, right? So it was always that energy signature that people bought into that's always been there. But it also got me into trouble a great deal too, because for many people, it was just a bit too far out there. The
It was like,
energy was too, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it is like end up frying people, right? But it's definitely been a roller coaster, but that knowingness that you talk about, that being present with your own essence, which is the divine essence, and coming from that space and knowing what you need to know when you need to know it, has always been my compass, my generator, my guidance system. And if I step outside of that, that's when I'm in trouble. That's when I'm not in my equilibrium. If somebody doesn't see me, and they want me to be something else, and I know I've got to tone me down, it's I just then become a reflection of what they are, to match them on that energy.
and then quite frankly, you're not helping them. And I
No,
understand exactly what you
yeah,
mean, because there's many a times I've gone, okay, but you're
yes,
not doing them a service or yourself.
no,
You know,
no. You just got to choose your moments though, and
yeah,
where you
that's
are.
really true. Yeah, there are times you do have to tone
Yeah,
down. You're absolutely right.
yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, you can tone down without giving up a part of
Oh, yeah,
yourself.
and that is something I used to do, not no way ever again. I am
Isn't
not going
that
to
a gift of
sacrifice
growing
myself anymore.
older?
Oh God, yes. Absolutely. You look at it and it's like my circle is smaller, but it's truer. If I'm not everybody's cup of tea, I'm somebody's strong cup of black coffee, and that's okay. I don't care if you like me. If you do, very nice. If you don't, I'm not offended. I'm just not your cup of tea. And I think when we can get there, when we're not trying to be what everybody else's, expectations are, because let's face it, this person wants this person wants that, this person wants that, and you're in a pretzel trying to be everything that everybody wants on the outside, that you lose your inside. You lose that compass in the
Yes,
inside. So the more true you are to who yourself, the more the essence of your energy is going to attract those people that will honor your vibration.
that's true. Once you start living it,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so many experiences of like I lose everything. I mean, thank God my head's connected to my body. That's all I could say. So, like, I'll lose my wallet. I lost my wallet. I left it in a cab in New York City. Came back to me the next day. He overnighted it to me.
Wow.
And that has happened multiple times in my life where it comes back.
Right.
And part of that, I really believe, is because I see good in people. And you're right.
Yeah. That
Sometimes,
energy
yeah,
thing. Again, not doing any wrong to anyone else because you don't want to disrupt that energy. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's getting there, isn't it? It's to all of us that's taken the journey to get here, to actually understand what this is about, we realize by giving up control, we're more in control of our lives because we're in choice. And we can make those choices that honor ourselves, honor our purpose, honor our presence. And in the essence of who we are, we can be such better contributors to the world and to what the world needs than we can be by trying to be people pleasers. And it's so much more peaceful to be here, and so much calmer, more meaningful to be here than the other side of the coin, where you're never going to please everybody or anybody because you're stretching yourself too thin.
Well, it's sort of, if you think about it, even Jesus,
Yes,
who I see him as somebody who understood he was totally human and totally divine.
yes,
Like, but we are too. That's
yes.
the
He
thing.
was a divine waker, right?
Yes, he's
To
right.
ignite
But,
the heart and soul in others.
but
Yes.
but he even went, I gotta go pray, see ya.
Yeah,
I gotta
yes.
go disappear. I
Yeah.
gotta reconnect because
Yes.
right now there's just too much going out here.
Yeah. And even knowing what was going to happen to him, the betrayal and everything else, is that, okay, this is a different chapter for me. Because I think when we understand that death isn't the final frontier, it is just an exit of your vessel, of this lifetime's chapter. But all that you have done and all that you are now goes on, whether you come back
I
or you
think
go on to the universe.
that's what it was really all about.
Yes,
It was about, I'm choosing to do this.
yes,
It's my path. It's
yes,
my passion.
yes.
And I'm doing this to show you you're not dying. You will continue.
How many thousands of years since his demise, and how alive is he in the hearts and souls of people today? And not
And how
necessarily,
much people see him, people talk to
yes.
him. I mean,
But don't you find that amazing how people can talk to God that you have to feel or trust or believe is there, but when you ask them to talk to a different form of energy or a different form of spirit, they can't because they can't see it. And the thing is, you can't see it if you're not willing to feel it, and you can't feel it unless you're willing to be it.
yeah, I don't see, but I feel like I'll
Right.
feel like, oh, somebody's just come in to help, or
Yes.
oh,
And your
what's that?
feeling allows you to see, right? The clarity, the sight sees what you feel.
So I'll always say I see, but I don't see because it's dark. If I close my eyes, it's dark. I don't
Mm.
actually see images or anything, but it's a different kind of seeing. It's a
Yes.
knowing. It's a
Isn't
knowing.
the knowing. And I'm sure you understand this feeling of, like when you're up into the universe, out of body, and you're in everything and nothing. You're in such divine peace and to such divine wisdom that you are just present. Just present. There's no aches and pains. There's nothing other than that, just floating in presence. And it is so utterly divine. It is so utterly supreme that when you can come back into body with that feeling, it fortifies you and energizes you, regenerates you to do
And
what you're meant to do.
yeah, that's the morning time
Mm,
to sit alone.
yeah.
For me, it's with a book, maybe for a little
Mm,
bit. I don't read very much because I'll just wait till a couple of words take me away
yes.
and go
Yeah, I'm
and
I'm
just
a
allow it to feel.
and exactly for me, I'm a visualer. So there's always a movie going on in my head. And
Uh,
there's always a vision, and I'm one of these people. When it comes, it then has got to be made into a movie, and it's color, and it's what they're wearing, what the setting is, what the this is, what they setting the stage. It's the entire immersement into it. I think that came from childhood when I was alone so much of creating
yeah.
these worlds, and I think a lot of it is dimensional traveling, where I'm not here, I'm elsewhere, having a different life, and all of that is because the spirit and the soul can do things that the body can't. And so when we go on those journeys, that's not being bizarre or weird. It's just simply letting the spirit go and express itself or go and explore other avenues that then brings back to our human self in better understanding and more knowledge.
There is, and I don't remember his name, but there's a shaman, and I listened to one of his. He came on, and he was in a wheelchair, or he was immobile, and he went on a journey, and he took us all with him,
Yes.
and in the sense he was talking it through, and I thought, wow, people complain they can't go anywhere. Boy, yes, you can.
Yes. I don't know if you saw the movie Doctor Strange.
That's great.
That one scene where she pushes him out of his body and say, what do you think you are? Just matter? And this is
I
that
know.
we limit ourselves to the matter of our body. This is a
Yes,
vessel that we're given to have the human experience so we can touch, taste, feel, hold. This is the extension of that feeling that we're given as a gift. But we're not just this blob of flesh, you
well,
know?
that's where we have to paint a bigger we got to
Yes,
put more lines on our canvas. You're
yes,
not just a mother, or you're not
yes,
just this, you're not just that, you're not just cranky all the time. Whatever little line you painted on yourself, you make the choice, paint a bigger canvas,
yes,
make the decision. Today I'm going to live as Christ.
right.
I'm going to be I am Christ incarnate.
Yeah,
I'm going to share love. I'm going to be love. And when somebody comes at me and is grumpy, I'm just going to send that love to them. Let my vibration ring to them.
yes. Because that love opens up their own chakras, opens up their own heart, And then when it opens up and that flooding of love comes into them, it just lifts up their spirit into action and they are open to receive. And once they receive, they're so abundant, they have to share.
I'll give you an example of that. I was having troubles with airline tickets, and I was fuming. I was so angry. It was wrong, right? That like what was happening to me, judging it bad, bad, bad. And I called up, and this woman on the other end of the phone, no matter what I threw at her, and I knew it wasn't her, and I would say,
Yes,
it's not you, but I was so angry,
yes,
and I would go, I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at the situation. And she just was loving and
yeah.
kind. Finally, I just started laughing hysterically and went, okay, you win. It was done. She just,
Yeah,
all she did was be there. She
yes,
allowed me to let Mimi do whatever Mimi was
yeah,
doing. And then Mimi got quiet, and it was like, wow. And then I said, I want to speak to your boss because they need more of you.
yeah. Exactly. And this is the thing. I put out my own shows every week, and what I've been putting out last year over, before Christmas and everything is please don't forget to be kind. We're in a shortage of everything, a shortage of people, a shortage of expertise, a shortage of goods, a shortage of that. We're just in a shortage. And stop blaming the people that are providing because it's not their fault. This is
Oh,
just a global thing. Let's go about it with grace. Now, on the other hand, we have emotions, and when we get upset or mad or angry, they need to be spent. But we've just got to be understood how we spend them and who we spend them on. And if it is
right.
anger, we really don't want to spend that on anyone else. Go and take it out on something else that can just disperse it. You've spent it, now you can move on. Um,
Go
you know,
outside and scream at it. Just go
yeah,
outside and scream.
yeah,
When I'm really hurting, sometimes I just scream in the car as I'm driving.
yes,
I
yes.
just scream.
I sing opera. That's enough to drive anybody away, even anger. I used to do that to my kids when they weren't listening. I'll start singing opera, anything to shut them up.
Hey, mom. Okay, mom, I'm listening.
Yeah. Please stop. Please stop. um, we have to honor those emotions, though, don't we? Because they are an indication of how we're feeling in the moment. And let's say, do spend those emotions, but don't become emotional about them. It's when we become stuck in the anger and the anger loses all reason and all rhyme and all context.
Yes.
That's when we become a slave to the anger and it becomes so consuming. And if you ask people what they're angry about, what are you really angry about? Oh, no, what are you really angry about? They can't remember what started it.
No, because you know what? Because everybody, there's not a person here, you're a child, you're growing
Mm,
up, and you can't necessarily relate to your emotions yet. So
yes,
you might have something buried from like, gosh knows when, and you're right, it could be even another lifetime
yes,
that you have to come to terms with. You
right.
have to allow yourself to feel. If you don't allow yourself to feel, then it's like a cloud that just doesn't go away. It's stuck there until you allow yourself to
Hmm.
feel. You
Exactly.
embrace it. However, I
Pain and
mean,
all.
pain and all.
Oh, yeah.
And because if you don't, you can't transcend it. It just
No.
gets stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not meant to be in a state of joy all the time. We can do joy. This is, I think, ultimate supreme joy. We have those beautiful moments to know what they're like. If we're in those moments all the time, how are we going to have any gratitude? We would just become complacent.
Yes, it's a coin. Joy, if you cannot understand one emotion if you haven't understood the opposite side of that. So the pain, if you've never had pain, if you only had joy, how do you know it's joy?
Exactly. What do you measure it against?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, good thing, when we have those euphoric moments, it's like music starts off slow, it builds up into crescendo. It's always got to come down again. We're not meant to live on that extreme vibration all the time. We'll burn ourselves out. We're meant to experience that to know what it's like, because that is then also fueling us, fueling our generator. For even when we calm down, we still carry the essence of that joy with us, but in a
Yes.
calmer way.
Yes. So that when we do feel things we don't want to feel,
Yeah.
underlying it at all times is that peace.
Yes. 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 It just I've interviewed an awful lot of people. I'm a very spiritual being of no dominion, but just just essence, God, source. Gus, I had a reverend on whose show was Gus, God according. No, Gus says God, universe, and spirit, right? So God
Yep.
according to Gus, universe, and spirit. It really doesn't matter, what church or what religion. When we actually understand fundamentally, it is the frequency and the vibration of love. And that love isn't just outside love, it's inside love. Because when you are the love, you do loving things. When you do loving things, they're creative, they're compassionate, they are encompassing, they just they just do so much good in that state of love. And it really doesn't matter, what the umbrella of the religion is. It really comes down to common denominator, which is to love yourself, is to love the God within you. And in that love, you are sharing God's love out with everyone else.
That's really, it's so wonderfully put. That love, and the other thing about that love is when you're living it, when you're in any situation, you're always looking for the highest and best good for all involved. Not
Yes.
you, not
Yes.
my best good is I want this.
Yeah.
But it's everybody's best good.
Yes. Because I think the greatest satisfaction is in the giving. And it's not receiving the gratitude for the giving, it's in knowing the difference that you're making in the giving. That's truly where your own personal abundance comes in. Knowing that what you are doing is serving others in a way that is going to enhance and invigorate their lives. And you may never see the results, but knowing that that is out there is a gift back to you.
I want to go back to what you did for your son.
Mm-hmm.
That was love because you did the highest and best good for both of you. Had you not done what you did, it wasn't going to be in his highest best interest either.
Right, exactly. And I think this is something we can disapprove. I don't condone this. I don't approve of this. But the moment we look at something and say, well, I don't love you anymore because of it, then we really truly didn't understand what love is. The love of your children or the love of a partner should never be measured, in you're not doing this, so I don't love you anymore. If you bring that love condition in, I only love you if, then you don't understand the true value of love, and you're not in that state of love. You're using love. You're using love to as a tool for your own gain, right?
If you're manipulating,
Yeah.
if you name any of those like negative, when you're manipulating anything, you're not living love.
No, no. And we are human, having a human experience, and we are going to make mistakes. We are going to make the wrong choices. But if we could just look at them as life lessons, I don't believe in failure as failure. I think we're going to fall down. It's how we get back up. The failure is when we choose not to get back up, but we've just given up. That's the failure to me.
He doesn't ever grade, and if you fail your test, he'll just give it to you again.
Exactly, over and over.
And again.
Yes.
And believe me, I'm stubborn, so he's given me my lessons quite a few times.
But that's where the cosmic 2x4 comes in. And do you hear me now? And I've had a few of those in my life. If the voice comes back, big, look, Sarah, you know the answer to this. Why are you not just being true to the core essence of who you are? It's enough. And then the argument is, yes, but I don't know, am I worth it? Blah, blah, blah. And then, no, that's just the human conditional chatter that you've been imposed on. You know how to switch that off. Switch it off. You're never going to be enough for everyone, just as long as you know you are giving your all in your essence and your love. That's all that counts.
I was with James Twyman one time. He was doing a retreat. I studied with him for a while. And one night, I guess he woke up in the morning and he just had something where he was going to do next. He said, I have found that if Holy Spirit inspires me to do something, I start right away so that other voice can't start talking.
Exactly. And, being a vigiler, I get given visions and immediately I make them into graphics and pictures because that's my translation of what I see. So it's either a movie in my head or I create something. And I was given one 5 years ago to do with my business and where to take it and what the next levels are going to be. And every year I attempt to try, is it now? Is it with this person? Is it in this way? And I'll try and it won't work. Okay, then it's clearly the wrong person and the wrong time. I know the vision is right. It makes sense and the vision hasn't changed. But when it's going to happen and who it's going to happen with is out of my hands. I just have to stay tuned for when those right people and the right time comes.
In The Way of Mastery, I think it was in the second book of The Way of Mastery, it's Jesus said that, you know, he had so many visions that made no sense to him at that time.
Yeah.
None. And he was talking about visions from a thousand years later, you know.
Yes.
And it made no sense to him at the time, but he trusted it.
Yes, that's the thing. I can't. I think the New Testament. I can't argue with it.
Yeah.
I can't argue with it. It makes sense. All right. Or it just the picture can't change because it's not meant to change. But how it evolves will be revealed. I've just got to keep my frequency open to that synchronicity, and that's it. And it's like we've got to understand that in the spiritual world there and the energy world, there is no such thing as time. Time overlaps itself, or space. Right? So, you know, that's a human concept. And, you know, what we consider as a long time is a blip in the cosmic time, right? So
if you
it's
even
the
look at
synchronicity.
It, you boil water and you stare at it and it seems like it's taking forever to boil. or your kid is screaming and you're like, oh my God, is it ever going to stop?
Right.
And it's like a half hour long and it's so long, but then you're doing something you love to do and you're having a great time and it's like a half hour has gone by already.
Exactly.
We
all have the same 24 hours in our day. It's what we do with it that makes it. You know, when you're having a good day, God, the time went flying by. When you're having a day that's painful, like, God, only a minute passed. So, you know, we've all got the same time. It's all a question of what we do with it. And, you know, everybody's going to have something happen to them because it's happening to you for a reason. Look at it happening, why it's happening for you. What are you meant to do with this? What's the lesson in this? Is it just a question of learning courage and strength and abilities you didn't know you had? Is it opening up to source, to God, to direct you in a new direction? Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to be loved and nurtured and led forward. But that's the reason why things happen for you, is for you to discover all those beautiful skills that you never knew you had.
I think what's beautiful about what you just said is it's so true. If you find yourself in a bad place and you're like, why is God doing this to me? It's the wrong question.
Exactly.
It is more of, okay, what am I going to learn out of this?
Yeah.
The journey takes a great courage.
Oh, yes.
And great vigilance and determination, because when something, even little things during the day, and let's say you had a Mimi moment, you have to honor that you did, not judge yourself, but go, okay, I did it. And okay, because if you don't catch it, you know, not that you, sometimes maybe you stop it before it happens, maybe you don't. But the point is, you have to recognize it. You have to have the vigilance, because if you don't, you know, it's like, oh God, please change me. Wrong question.
No.
Wrong thing. Please change me. No, help me to
change myself. Yes, and that's where that free will comes in. You know, it's all about that free will, and we can show people the way. We can give them the tools, but you know, I use the analogy, we can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink. However, leave it there long enough and it's going to realize it's thirsty. But it can only drink that water of its own free will. And so all we can do with the work that you're doing, with the shows that I'm doing, is show people there's another way. There's another way to be, another a platform to follow that's going to show you how to drink the water, but you've got to be willing to drink that water. So, if you have to look at it for a while and see it all glistening and looking fresh and inviting, but you're not ready to partake in it, okay, but it's here when you're ready.
And but everybody needs to be open that the way you might find something, and
Yes.
this is where the courage comes in.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a Christian and all of a sudden you go and do something Buddhist, and it's something truly resonates for you.
Yes.
And you want to explore it, but your whole family's going to be, what?
What do you think you're doing?
Yes. It takes courage. And even when you become, let's say you switch to Buddhism, it's still not the answer.
No.
Religions are just tools.
Yes.
To help. It's supposed to just help you get to the things we've been talking about.
It's not about slavery. It's not about control, which many religions have become. They've become fear-based and about control. Every single one of this is responsible for our own journey. Again,
yes,
some choices are going to be made for you. What do you do with it? Your choice is how you deal with it. Your choice is what do you do with it? Your choice is how do you get out of that situation? What do you learn from it that empowers you? That's your choice. We don't always choose what happens, but our choice for how we're going to get out of it.
Understand you're not the victim.
Yes.
You have to take responsibility.
Right. We can be victimized without being the victim, because when you decide to be the victim, you're empowering the person that's victimized you. Right? Yes. When you say you victimize me, but I am not the victim because of it, you have deflated that energy and that power they had over you.
Yes.
That's a good feeling. We've also got, I look at my own marriage that, even my own kids said to me, Mom, how did you two get together? Just so wrong for each other. And it was kind of, there's 4 gifts I got out of my marriage. One was 3 most beautiful, wonderful children that I'm extremely proud of. But the other was a discovery of myself, a discovery of how my spirit could rise and lead my humanity and not trying to be this human that was trying to hide my spirit. And so it became a birth of that. But I had to take onus on his behavior over me because my vibration was so low of myself that he treated me the way I presented myself. And when I presented myself higher, in a higher light, in a higher vibration,
then he couldn't stay.
He actually said to me, my control of you has been taken away from me. I had given him that control over me. That was my unknowingly choice. And when I took that empowerment back over my own choices, my own essence and my own energy, he no longer had that power.
Yes.
So we could understand that many of the things that happen to us is because we maybe unknowingly are allowing it to happen because we don't feel worthy or we haven't tapped into the right energy, we haven't let God into our heart. There's many reasons there, but we've also got to take some ownership sometimes of what happens to us because of our energies being so low.
I also think with all that we do with this is I forgot what did you see that? The bird just flew away.
Tweet, it's tweeting you back. It'll come back to you, don't worry. But it was like what you were saying about losing the wallet, and it always came back to you, is because that frequency of it must go back to her. Good frequency. Well, when bad things happen to you, sometimes it's just the soul signature that you've signed up for to have this experience.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes it is maybe that's the frequency you're putting out in the way you're being treated. My mom always used to say to me, the value that you place upon yourself is the way other people are going to treat you. And it took me so many years to truly understand what she was saying. If I want people to treat me with love and respect, I must be the love and respect.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, it's really important. It says love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. How can you love your neighbor if you really haven't figured out how to love yourself?
And isn't the loving of yourself God loving you? Because you are, it is the God essence and vibration frequency, the cosmic material of everything that you are, is that love. And when you step into that love and I love who I am, why I am, and what I'm here to do, your whole energy and everything changes quite completely. And you're never alone. That's the beauty of
Never,
it. Hmm.
never,
Yeah.
ever alone. It's, you know, once you really start understanding that, so you had a gift when you were young because
Mhm.
you found it, because otherwise, think about how awful that would have been if you didn't find that.
I don't think
You
I'd
had
be here
you had
actually. Yeah,
companions.
yeah, I did. Have you ever read Northern Lights by Philip Pullman?
No.
They did the Golden Compass movie, and on the TV right now is Dark Materials, and the magisterium is based on religion's control. And but the beautiful of it is, and I read this in 1999, you know, at the cusp of the millennium. Remember when the world was coming to an end?
Yes.
And it's a trilogy, and what I loved about it is the soul, which they call the daemon, was on the outside, and that soul spoke to you. It was your consciousness, it was your guidance system, you know, it was your companion that spoke to you, and for it to be torn apart was to literally make you into nothing because you weren't connected. And I was so envious of, I would have loved to have had my soul as a living companion here by my side. And, you know, it just opens up to the fact when we're truly, honestly willing to listen to our soul, to that beautiful divine wisdom that's always there as our friend and our guidance system, we are always going to make the choices that serve what we need in the now, and that we're not alone. It's just that it would have been nice to have it on the outside, but it is on the inside, and we can find it. And that companion is always there with us, guiding us if we truly listen and connect.
And I think, and everybody can do it differently, but I think it's important to sit and listen.
Mm-hmm.
I love to journal,
Yes,
because I'll listen and say, what do you have to tell me today?
right. And just let it
Whether
flow,
you
right?
whether you're saying it's Jesus that talked to you, your higher self that talked to you, but you know it's not you in
Yes.
your human form. Why? Because you get surprised at what you
Yes.
get.
Yes. I do
What
my own
time
shows
I
every week.
asked, what is the, I had just finally got over something. I
Mhm.
dealt with something and it was complete. And I was like, oh, all excited. And I went into prayer, like, what's next? What do I have to work on? And what I heard, I knew was real, because I went, really? I was told that I had to learn to ponder and
Mhm.
not react.
Yeah, respond, don't react. Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And so on my website, I have different characters. I have Ponder Woman, I have, of course, Screaming Mimi, and I have Drama Queen, and I have Reaction Woman. And so I have superheroes and villains in there too.
Wonderful. I love it because that rounds us all out. Yeah. I totally agree with you, writing something down, and do not think it, just feel it, let it just come, allow. Um,
Yes.
I do it sometimes in the writing, writing a blog that I then make into a show, or sometimes my show of the week, I just press record, and whatever comes out. Whatever
Comes
comes
out.
out, it comes out. And sometimes it's addressing something that's going on in the world, you know, how I look at it, what we can do about it. And I've read things that I've written 15, 20 years ago. Oh, this is good. Yeah, I like that. And then really, it's me.
It's true. I found when I first started doing this, I can be a type A personality, got to get it done, got to get it done.
Mm,
And I started writing, and even with the blog, I would be there. Oh, I got to do this
yes.
today. And it took me about a week to go, okay, I get it. It's on your time. You'll let me
Yes.
know when I'm going to write, and I'll write when you tell me.
I've just written my memoir, and I'm in kind of the third or fourth stage of going through it again. And just because of the situation with my daughter and work and everything else, I just haven't had any time on it lately. And somewhere along the line, I'm going to have to calm some more time to get back to it. But in just letting it write itself, and then me rereading it, I thought, oh, there's a thread going all the way through here. And
Yeah.
I realized that thread, and like, yeah, I kind of knew it was there, but I didn't know it was that prevalent. Or, you know, that, you know, somebody, oh, you're writing a memoir. We're going to hear all the pain and the suffering. And I don't know. Pain and suffering is being done. I will address the pain and the suffering, but I ain't going down that rabbit hole again. I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about how I got over it. I'm going to talk about who it made me today. I'm going to talk about what I've learned from it. I'm certainly not
You,
going down it again.
I had one day of such gratitude recently that all my pain I became very grateful for.
Yes.
It was the most amazing experience. Like there was gratitude to the people that gave me the pain. It
Yes.
was gratitude for everything about what I perceived as wrong with my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was such a great moment. And I don't think anything can ever be the same. Like even if I experience annoyance or something else, underlying it is gratitude.
Yes, because it's all an indication of something, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
nothing happens for no reason. And sometimes at the time, I mean, again, I've heard some people's stories that such horrific things have happened to them at the hand of a human that it's just beyond words. And if they just decided to go down the rabbit hole and close the door and never come out, you wouldn't blame them because to trust another human being again after what's happened to them. Yet they decided to go on that journey. And the journey was to forgive, not condone what was being done to them, but to become stronger, more enriched, more abundant, more knowledgeable, more caring, kind, loving of themselves. And each one of them now, with the gift that they are to other people because of that journey, because of that strength, because inspiration begets invitation. And the inspiration they are is an invite to other people. If they can go through this, if they can go through just, if I went through an ounce of what they went through, and yet they're doing this today, because of that journey, surely I can find something inside of me to take my own journey to reach my own enrichment and abundance.
My favorite movies are the inspirational movies, the
Mm,
true stories.
mhm.
And I watch them and I just, go, they help me.
Yes.
And I think they are some of the best movies. There's a documentary, 7 Yards, that I would
Mm,
really recommend, which when I saw it, I mean, I thought it was going to be a movie, not a documentary. And so I thought, oh, I don't know if I want to watch. I watched it. I cried. I was inspired by this guy. It was an amazing, amazing story.
exactly. And I'm so privileged to share these stories. I'm so privileged to share people like yourself who are paving the way for other people that are deciding to place love or discover love of themselves and to follow that divine wisdom and journey of how to come home to self, how to be at one with self, how to ride with the divine always within you because you are it in every aspect of your life. And we all need to understand that's what we need. And we all need to understand that there are people there to help us on our journey. And,
Yes.
I consider for the last 10 and a half years for some of the stories that people have trusted me with as an absolute honor, that the fact that they trusted me with them and that we should be honored to hear what they have to say because what they have shared is something they didn't have to, but in doing so, you are becoming that inspiration that begets that invitation. You're becoming that solution that someone's looking for. You've switched people onto a different path.
The importance of sharing, in not complaining,
Mm,
sharing, is that making yourself vulnerable
yes,
is so important. Vulnerability is so important. Okay, maybe somebody is going to use what you're sharing a way you didn't want. It doesn't
right.
matter because
Yep.
there's going to be other people that you've done something really incredible for them. It could be a big thing. It could be something as little as, I think I want to hear a little more.
Yes,
That's why I love inspirational stories. They
right.
open your doors.
And they do. Absolutely. And these shows are always an hour more. They're probably we've gone into the hour and a half easily. And they're not for the people who are wanting a quick fix or, I've only got a couple of minutes, inspire me. They're for the people that are really on the journey in life, that really want to listen, want to feel, want to connect, want to be switched on, want to be pointed in the right direction. They're for the people that have given themselves the gift of time to listen, to learn, so they can apply. So if you are listening to this today, you are giving yourself a gift of understanding what that sailboat is all about, of letting that divine in, knowing that God is with you. You are God. You're all a part of it. And that when you are connected with God, you will never travel alone. And that no matter how your road is going to be, it will always bring you back to the essence of who you really are. And you've brought that to us today. Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed having time with you.
Right back at you, love. Right back at you. Now, how do people get your book, and what site do they go to, and what are you offering people?
Okay, so my book, The Littlest Sailboat, A Journey of the Soul, can be bought on Amazon. It could also be bought on IP Books. That's the publisher. I know Barnes and Noble has it as well. I also sell it. You could buy it on my website. There's a buy here, TheresaContaxis.com, which is you have the spelling. So,
No, and I'd like you to, I have 16 audio platforms. So would you spell it for
okay,
the people who are just listening?
okay. TheresaContaxis.com. The page will come up and you'll see you can buy it there, and it'll take you right to IP Books. And there you can read some of my stories of different characters. And I like using humor because Holy Spirit uses humor all the time.
Yes.
But also, as we talked about vulnerability, I like to share my own stories of where I fall, and yet it's time you rise above, like a little kid being picked up after he got knocked down.
Yes. Yes. You know, it isn't about the amount of times that you're knocked down. It isn't about that a time. It's about how many times you're willing to get back up. And the more, you know, you get a spring in your butt. Okay, I'm down again. Whoop, I'm up quicker this time, you know.
And actually, that's perfect, because I was going to say, when I was coming out, when I was awakening, I would go down in a self-pity party, like, because I was, well, everybody, my own worst critic. I can't
Yes.
believe I did that.
Yeah.
Woe is me. And sometimes it would take 2 or 3 weeks to pop up. Now, when I have a moment that popping up, okay, it was a day done. And it's even getting shorter than a day. But
Yes.
you get it faster and faster till you
Yes.
just, like you say, little rubber, up you go.
Yep. And you know, just because you are a spiritual being and you have connected with this doesn't mean that you're not going to get bad days. I still get that rabbit hole now and again. I just don't go down it so deep. I don't get
Yes.
lost in it, right? I know when it's showing its head, and as it is, okay, all right, I hear you. You know, I have a physical condition that I have to partner with. And that physical conditions only allows me so much energy to do so much. And if I overextend that energy, it pulls the plug on me. So we have to have a very good cohesive relationship on, okay, you're tapping me on the shoulder, you're giving me a warning. I've got to take some time to rejuvenate or I'm going to get flattened. And that's the thing in life with everything is balance. It's about the balance, and it's about honoring yourself and maybe your limitations, or it just that the parameters of what you're in. Just don't go to extremes on anything. Even with your spirituality, don't go to an extreme with it. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the reality. So it's about that balance.
And never be afraid to find people, like-minded people, that you can
Yes.
say, I have fallen. Make yourself vulnerable, because you know what happens? Always the other person has gone there too, maybe in a different way, but they've
Yes.
experienced the same emotion or the same pain differently. But they can go, I relate. I
Yes.
get it. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And yes, you can do this. And if you're not willing to talk about it, if you're not willing to share, how can you come out of it?
I was always the one that I would give people things and do things for people, but I didn't want them done back. Partly I didn't want to owe anybody. The other part of it is I, I kind of didn't believe in the gift. I don't know what the problem was. Now I realize to deny other people helping me is to deny their purpose.
Their joy.
Yes, yes. And that we're all here to help one another. So somebody looks at you, they're not judging you for falling down or having a breakdown. They're just there to help you get back up on your feet.
Yes,
Allow, gracefully, gratefully, allow, because that's their gift to give. And who are you to turn it down?
that's right. It's like the Course in Miracle says, giving and receiving are one and the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it could be something as giving somebody a smile, helping them with the shopping to the car, helping with the kids that are screaming and having a meltdown, or just somebody that's looking a bit sad. Start a conversation. There's just so many little acts that we can do that can have such a profound effect on someone. Just don't walk around with blinkers. Don't be afraid to start a conversation. Don't be afraid to reach out with your love, because my God, do we need it.
Amen.
So, folks, remember, the little boat, Littlest Sailboat, can be found on her website, which is also the ipbooks.net, product The Littlest Sailboat by Theresa Contaxis. Also, we can find that on Amazon, and also you can find her show right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. Please, I always encourage people to maybe listen to a podcast, on your own, but get together afterwards and discuss it, because you got something from it. Somebody else got something else from it. And when you're all willing to share, this point hit me here, that point hit me there, this made me feel like that, and you're all sharing how you feel, suddenly you've got a rounder picture that enriches you all, right? So it's, it's share it and discuss it.
And on top of it, you might have missed something, and then somebody else says it and goes, really? I didn't. Really?
Yes.
Why didn't I hear that?
Right. Because you're going to hear what you need to hear. But when you hear what other people needed to hear, and it's like, oh, wow, gosh, there was so much more in there and I benefit from it. And that's the point. That's the reason why you do these things. That's the reason why you come on and share these things. It's about to enrich other people's lives. And if we share that enrichment in every which way, we're all the benefit of it. So wonderful way to start off the new year. Thank you so much, Theresa. Your wisdom, your love, we all need that. That's the currency in the world. And when we decide to step into it, that's when we truly actually understand why we're here, right?
Right. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Until next time, folks, please make 2023 the year that you listen to the divine love within you and become that love for everyone else, including yourself. Because if you aren't the love, you can't be the love for anyone else. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or self-discovery-media/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.